Welcome back to Adrianne's Kitchen. I just got a real bad craving for a delightful treat that I can only find in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is the ham and Gruyere crepe at Penny's. And it's so good. And I found Gruyere and I have ham. So I'm making crepes. Step number 1, wash your hands. Step number 2, got my apron. Step number 3, just drinking water. It's been warm, trying to stay hydrated. Let's go. So, batter is actually low carb. It's cream cheese, eggs, a little swerve, that erythritol-based sugar, and almond flour. Mix that all up, blend it to get it super smooth, basically. And then this is actually what the final product looks like. You're seeing this in reverse, and that's because I totally forgot that I could have been recording. So anywho, you take a scoop and layer it thin, and then let it start cooking. I'll do this twice, so that way you can see the whole process. We'll just go in reverse this time. Over here I've got my shredded Gruyere. I shred that on the smallest size, just because I think it melts easier. And then I've got some just chopped up lunch meat ham. And then this was the Dijon mayo that I made months ago at this point. Dijon, mayo, and then again, just a sprinkling of the erythritol. And we're going to put that all together. All right. Spray it down with some oil because you need non-stick for sure. I'm going to take just this. I'm going to get a little bit more. My scoop's just a little sad. And it's going to start cooking. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Cook. Boom. See this? How we've got it like no moisture on the edges, moisture on the middle. It's not ready yet. It's been a very long time since I posted because there's been just a lot happening. With me personally, like my life, everything's good, like just been busy. And I would love to fill you in on that, but I feel like there are just some bigger things on my mind that I would like to address. My last video was prior to Memorial Day weekend, and I'm sure a lot of you know that Memorial Day was pretty rough for the state of Minnesota and George Floyd and the family of George Floyd. It's been a heavy 6 weeks. First of all, I came to the realization that I was racist, and not necessarily intentionally. Like, it's just like that's just part of being a human. Like, we all have just this ingrained in us, and it's raised in us, a sense of like just this racism. And you might not realize it, like I didn't realize it until I really did some self-examination, and I realized that by just saying I'm not racist is not enough. Like, there has to be work done to actively say I'm anti-racism. And I'm working on it, and I'm learning, and I'm educating myself, and I'm ashamed to say, a lot of information that I just didn't know because I never needed to. Because I'm white. So now I know. The documentary 13th on Netflix, definitely recommend. The podcast 1619, definitely recommend. The book How to Be an Anti-Racist, definitely recommend. I've only just begun it, and it is a lot to take in and really process, so I am taking my time with it. There are a plethora of resources available for you if you feel like, I guess I'm not understanding, or I'm not quite sure what Adrianne's referring to, or anything like that. Like, there are resources available, and if you want to reach out to me to ask me about that, definitely do. So, that said, Black Lives Matter. Whether you support the movement, the like just concept of the movement, or like the actual like movement that is like online, That's up to you. What I'm saying is Black Lives Matter. And I can't say all lives matter until we all agree that Black lives matter. And it's not that your life doesn't matter or Hispanic lives don't matter or Native American lives don't matter. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying right now, like, we need to be paying attention to the inequities that are just part of how we have structured our country and structured our world that we live in. And we need to call for change. So that's been on my mind. It's been a little busy. Brené Brown also does several fantastic interview podcasts with experts in their field. Her podcast series is called Unlocking Us. Even before everything happened with George Floyd, she had a ton of really great interviews and insightful information, and I strongly recommend listening to those if you're looking for any like personal growth or just trying to become more introspective into yourself. So there's that. We've also still been going through, a pandemic. Just because the economy is reopening doesn't mean that science has advanced or that things have changed. Everything is brand new. So like with the way media is, it posts in the instant, like, boom, surprise, here's one new report or one new review or study that was done, and it's all brand new information. And so like having this understanding that like things change with time and it takes multiple studies and multiple reports, like experts are experts because of their experience in the field, not because they necessarily know the ins and out of a brand new virus that just appeared on this planet. So I think it's been really challenging to deal with the media, all media, not just certain forms of media, all media in regards to the pandemic. In addition, like we have a lot of people who seem very adamant that general precautions and caring for your neighbor and like wearing a mask is just too far. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you have no desire to wear a mask because you think that it is against your rights and you can't comprehend that it's actually to protect your neighbors, your friends, your family, the people you see in public, we should have a chat, because I'm not sure I understand why you can't wear a mask to protect your neighbor. Like, my neighbors are in their 80s and their 60s. So, like, by no means do I want to accidentally pass anything if I'm asymptomatic. Like, that is not at all what I would want to do. So, of course, I want to wear a mask when I'm in the public, when I am, like, getting up close with people. Like, it's to protect other people. So if you are not on board with wearing a mask, like, I'd really love to understand more about why, because other than it being a political statement, which science isn't really political, like a pandemic and a virus isn't like a political issue. It doesn't choose a side. Like, it's the virus versus humanity. It's not like red versus blue or versus independent. Like, it's not political. So just wear a fucking mask. And finally, today's really just kind of pushed me a little bit over the edge. The Supreme Court has sided with President Trump and the administration's push for the new regulations around the ability to opt out of providing zero-cost birth control for religious groups or groups that morally disagree with it. I've got feelings about this. I last year went to the hospital and I had a day surgery called D&C, which is a process where they remove everything from inside of your uterus. And that is because I did not have my menstrual cycle for 9 months. So all of that built up inside my uterus. And the risk with that is that it can cause cancer. So my doctor prescribed me birth control to ensure that I had regular cycles, so I didn't have a buildup that would have a risk of causing cancer. So it's healthcare. This isn't like, oh no, we don't want people to have contraceptives that would prevent them from getting pregnant. Like, this is just general healthcare. Like, I am one of many, I'm sure, who have hormone imbalances that impact their cycle. Why I have hormone imbalances? likely related to my weight, likely related to my diet, likely related to my lifestyle, which is also why my doctor said, hey, we'd like you to go on a low carb diet. So I'm doing what I can to get my body back to a state where it operates on its own and I don't necessarily have to take birth control. Because like, I don't want to like pump drugs into my body. Like, that's not something that I'm interested in doing for the rest of my life. But I also don't want to get cancer. And like, birth control, if it's not covered by your insurance, can cost up to $50 a month. And you can't just go in and be like, hey, I'm here to get some birth control today. It's got to come from a prescription from your doctor. So if you go into your doctor, if you don't have insurance, you're looking at paying like $250 just to tell them like, hey, I want some birth control. And for them to say, okay, here's a prescription. So really the cost could be about $250 to $300. So I've got some issues with the church saying that, don't mind my rooster in the background, but I've got some issues with the church saying that they feel like it is religious, like against their religion, or it's immoral to offer birth control to employees that work on their staff. Because you're literally taking away healthcare options. Healthcare to keep people safe and healthy. I guess I don't understand why, from a Christian church perspective, we aren't thinking about taking care of our neighbor, even if that means they need to take birth control. I've got a lot of deep-seated frustrations and difficulties in general with the church. That goes back a real long time. And the fact that like this was being pushed from like a Catholic group and organization, like I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. And if you identify as a Christian and you are like, yeah, I'm all for this, like religious groups or religious owned businesses should not have to provide zero cost birth control. I guess I'd love to know more about why you feel that way, especially after hearing what I just had to say regarding the potential risk I had for cancer because of 9 months being stuck in my uterus. Like, should I stop taking birth control and continue to risk getting cancer? And then when I do get cancer, how much more is that going to cost me, my company, the insurance company? Like, help me understand. So I've got a few heavy things on my mind. And I'm open to dialogue to maybe understand a perspective or a perception that I don't understand, because I come from a filtered lens in any of these cases, whether it's in regards to George Floyd's death, Black Lives Matter, COVID-19, wearing a mask, or providing general health care to human beings. Feel free to hit me up and we can chat about it. I flipped it. We're going to sprinkle some ham right down the middle here. I want this one to be extra hammy because I don't know how many more we're going to get. And then the Gruyere, just right over the top of that ham. And then this last of this Dijon here. I would definitely say be liberal with this because you want this Dijon flavor to come through with the Gruyere and the ham because it's so good. I'm gonna have to make more. Oh yeah. Roll the sides over so that way they overlap underneath. You can't really see it. Cook it up. Do a little sprinkling of that Dijon mayo. A little more cheese. Done.